Babe, we need to talk. I don't know about you, but when someone says that to me, I just wanna run. So, today we are going to talk about communication. Actually, I want to talk about a particular pattern of communication that happens. So, as we know, everyone is a relationship expert these days, and there are so many books out there written by qualified and kind of qualified people, gurus and coaches and psychologists about relationships. And the big, thing of the 21st century is communication. Okay, communication is vital in every relationship. And how it is pretty much presented and sold is that two people sit together when one person is upset, and the person who's upset says to the other person, when you did that, I felt this. I felt rejected when you said this. I felt ignored when you did that. I felt hurt. I felt this. I felt that when you behaved this way or said this or that. And ideally, the other person responds with, oh, wow, I'm so sorry. I did not mean for it to come out that way, or I did not know that this behavior annoys you this way. Oh, I'm so sorry, and I will not do that again. I'll be careful with my words. I'll be careful with my behavior. I will not leave wet towels on the floor anymore. Happily ever after. Isn't that beautiful? Very heartwarming. Except for in reality, that doesn't happen. And why is that? Because according to the Gottmans, 60% of problems in our relationships are actually perpetual, which means they will go on forever. A very small percentage. Is it 60% or 70%? I forgot. The larger percentage is perpetual problems, and the smaller percentage is things that you can work on and resolve. Why? Well, that is because whenever you have two people who have different upbringings, two different personalities, character strengths and weaknesses, histories, and all of that, worldviews, you're going to end up with conflict because you are not an identical twin. Even identical twins are not exactly the same in their behavior and their wants and dislikes and likes, okay? So two people together under one roof equals to disagreements, conflict, okay? Good. The particular pattern of communication I want to talk about is one that I want to call it a trend. I don't want to call it a pattern anymore because it's in every movie, in every reality TV show. I hear people talk to each other that way when people are in arguments. It's actually a trend. And this is how it goes. Person number one says to person number two, I felt like this when you did this, X. Person number two goes, oh, well, I did not mean for it to come out that way. That is not what I said. That is not what I meant. What I felt, what I meant, what I wanted to say is because there's a conflict in the middle impacting both people. This one has their side of the story. This one has their side of the story. Person number one sees it from their angle. Person number two sees it from their angle. The problem that person number one sees might not be exactly the person number two sees. So certainly here we have conflict. When two people are not coming eye to eye, even though they're going by the books of effective communication, being honest, being open, sitting together, listening to each other attentively, waiting for one person to finish their sentence, and then they speak, okay? Taking turns and speaking, very mature, very good. But what you see is that this happens. Person number two responds. Person number one retells the story. Then person number two responds by retelling their story again. Person number one goes back and says exactly what they've said before. Person number two responds with exactly their first response. And the cycle keeps on continuing. And this one's getting frustrated. Oh my God, you're not hearing me. You're not listening to me. Blah, 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 blah. You're so disrespectful. Person number two is like, no, you're not hearing me. You're not listening to me. You are disrespecting me. And yes, that is true. This style of communication, which is ineffective communication, as you can see, sitting down together and being open, hey babe, we need to talk, and listening to each other and waiting for one person to finish their line before you go in with your line, is actually useless if the purpose of communication is wrong and flawed. The purpose. What is the purpose of communicating? Every person wants to share what they're upset about for various reasons. Now, let me tell you, if person number one is communicating what happened to them, their experience, for the purpose of showing the other person that they were wrong or they did them wrong, and so that the other person listens and goes, oh my God, I am so sorry, I did not mean it that way. So what person number two is trying to do is to make the person number two feel that they're in the wrong and convert person number two, bring person number two to their side, bring them and help them see the situation from their angle and win them over, convert them pretty much. And when person number two stands their ground and they say, look, I'm sorry I made you feel that way, and I totally get what you are talking about, but I also have a side of the story, and oh my God, how dare you say but? You are such a toxic person. Oh my God, you have your own side of the story. I'm upset here and you have your own side of the story. That is toxic relationship. I need to get out. Oh my God, seriously. How dare you say but? That is not active listening. No, it is also not active listening and active communication when you actually initiate a communication for the purpose and the sole purpose that the person knows that you're upset and they realize that they are wrong and they come crawling to you and apologize to you and they walk on eggshells around you for the rest of their lives to make sure that you're always happy. That is not a good purpose for initiating communication. If you want to be seen and heard, and your point of view respected, you also have to extend that to the other person. Even though you're the one who feels hurt. But when the person has another side of the story, it is actually your job also to shut up, sit down and listen to them, listen to their point of view and understand where they are coming from. Because relationships are reciprocal, remember? They are reciprocal. And another important component of effective communication, and this one is a sign of maturity actually, is one where the people involved in the conversation actually realize that they might never come to a complete agreement with the other person. We are never going to come eye to eye and see the problem from the same angle, and we are never going to have an agreement over it. And agreeing to disagreeing is a very beautiful thing, but obviously you can't live your entire life agreeing to disagree. If you're building a house and you're disagreeing on the floor plan, let's agree to disagree, that house is never going to be built, right? So agreeing to disagree is good to keep the peace, but actually is you can't build a relationship like that because, like I said before, nothing is going to get off the ground then. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to move forward. But that's not what we are talking about. We are talking about communication today. It is very important that two people who are having a conversation about a conflict or something difficult to know that there is difference and to be capable of sitting and holding difference very well without getting upset and sucky with each other. What does difference mean is it simply means that I see the situation differently to yours, and even though I understand where you are coming from, but I still don't really agree with what you are saying. I still feel like what I'm saying is really what I'm experiencing, and how I'm seeing the situation is the way it feels right to me. But I respect your point of view. Agreeing to disagree, difference. We are never going to think the same way or see this problem through the same eyes. How we deal with that is actually a sign of maturity. And this is very important because ultimately, if the differences are so big and so huge, and if the conflicts are so deep, maybe a couple, they need to make a decision about whether this relationship is worth pursuing or not. And it doesn't mean that either of them are bad. It just means that there's a huge gap in their characters, in their personalities, in their lifestyles, in their worldviews, and maybe in their relational ability that if they want to pursue a relationship, there's going to be a lot of unresolved arguments and a lot of unresolved conflict. But sitting with difference is very important. and respecting the other person's point of view, just like you want to be heard and you want your partner or your spouse to actually hear you and understand you, you actually need to extend the same service to your partner or your spouse. You also need to hear them and listen to them and see the situation from their point of view. Okay, I actually was planning on keeping this very, very short, but I like to talk. I hope that you found this a little bit thought-provoking, because it is time that we actually start to challenge this belief that we need to be happy and comfortable in every situation and in our relationships, and that talking to people means getting off my chest and the other person coming to me crawling and being, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That is not the reality, and that is not actually something that I would call a healthy relationship. That actually goes into the category of toxic relationships. So let's learn about effective communication and make sure that we are not twisting it and we are not turning it into something toxic, okay? I will leave you with this. Have a think about it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your colleagues. And don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe and hit the like button. And if you are watching this on Instagram, I don't really know what you do on Instagram. Oh yeah, hit the heart, the like button. And if you have any questions or there's any comments you want to make, feel free. Until I see you next time, God bless and take care.